Hey, Brian Beckcom here at VB Attorneys, and I've got Samy Chong on the podcast. And Sammy's been my personal coach for going on, I think, 3 years now. But when I think of Samy, I think of Samy as kind of, for lack of a better term, a life coach. Tell the listeners who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Samy Chong is from a little country in the Far East called Malaysia. 12 years old, immigrated to Canada, and this is my home in Toronto ever since. I think for the first part of my life, 40 years or so, 42 to be exact, I was a restaurateur. I ran some of the most fun business where I set some pretty serious record for the 20 years I was in that business. We grew every year from 11 to 44% nonstop. So the type of revenue, the type of lifestyle allowed me to understand that my gifts could be used for something else. I just didn't know what it was until 2001. I took my daughter, who was 13 years old, and my son, who was 9 years old, to New York City for March break. We had a great week. We took the train there, took the train back. I drove them to my wonderful previous wife. Notice I do say those things with passion and love. Wonderful previous wife. And by the time I come home, it was very, very late in the evening. I opened my bedsheet cover. The 13-year-old daughter basically wrote me a couple page of letter, and that letter is on my website. Basically, she says, "Dad, what are you doing? You love helping people. There's a spiritual side of you." And I also realized that my time with the restaurant is coming to an end. I will tell you, Brian, I kneel, I cry. My son, who was 9 years old, would write these little card that says, "I love you." He would hide them everywhere in the apartment. These two kids was giving me energy. So that was March 2001. By May 31st, I sold my restaurant to my accountant, who did my book the last 20 years, who knows intimate detail of the financial and so on and so forth. Look what happened. I listened to a 13-year-old message. That year, 9/11 happened. SARS, mad cow follow. If there ever was a time to sell the business, that was the time. And with that money, I didn't know what I was going to do. I just realized that this was the right thing to follow my intuitions. And somebody basically asked me to take a coaching course. The first course of this school that I went into, literally, I knew I was home. I knew that was part of my destination, part of what I needed to do.
Well, the wisdom of children remains strong even today. It's amazing how wise kids can be. Tell us about kind of the arc of your career as a master certified coach.
In Canada, there's only about 50 people that are certified under that designation. In the US, I think there's about 2,300 people, and there's many other coaches and whatnot. There's very few that earn that designation. I think the minimum required hours of coaching is about 3,000 hours. Plus, you have to write exam. You have to let people listen to your call, provided the client allowed that, just to get into an arena where we are governed by the body called International Coaching Federation. So the requirement is pretty strict. As of this last year, I'm probably touching just under 10,000 hours of coaching right now.
Wow.
So there isn't much story about an entrepreneur, especially in the legal field, what they go through, what their struggle, what their challenge, and most importantly, how to design a life that you want to live. In other words, I've been very privileged using all the tools that is that I've learned throughout the years to design a life that I want, whether it's the island that I'm at right now, I call Inspiration Island, or the place I live. I really live a life of my design. So the MCC, the Master Certified Coach, it's very few people have earned it, and it is a pretty strict requirement for us to get there.